Hello, I'm CJ Werleman, and in this episode, we reveal how Israeli war criminals are hiding out in Dubai as guests of the Emirati government. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Time will tell whether the ceasefire in Gaza holds, but for now, the pursuit for punishing Israel for committing genocide is well underway, with the next year or two promising to be a painful period for Israeli leaders and the Zionist army's rank and file. Because, to put it bluntly, the hunters have become the hunted, as Interpol and the International Criminal Court, along with independent human rights groups, track the movements of Israeli war criminals. As illustrated by the recent fleeing of an Israeli soldier from Sri Lanka in December after a pro-Palestine group reported him to local authorities for killing a civilian in Gaza. 4 weeks later, an Israeli soldier fled Brazil after a Brazilian court issued a warrant for his arrest, based on evidence a human rights group submitted showing that he deliberately demolished Palestinian homes. He had this to say to an Israeli news outlet.
רק עכשיו, כשהגעתי לארץ, אני מעכל שהוא קרה. מסר ללוחמים ולהיות נעולים, וגם אם לא צריך לעלות, אל תעלו. אף אחד לא רוצה לחזור מהטיול שלו אחרי שבועיים.
Israeli soldiers are now criminals on the run, which has created a new sense of panic and dread within the Zionist state, forcing the government to publish a guide for its soldiers on how to avoid being arrested while travelling abroad, amid growing pressure from countries to detain Israelis suspected of war crimes.
How to act if arrested abroad. That is how Israeli media is responding to growing international pressure to hold Israelis accountable for possible war crimes. Ynet's guide titled "Here's How to Act If Arrested Abroad and What to Check Before Flight" featured advice from Nick Kaufman, a defence lawyer at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. Kaufman warns soldiers to tread carefully online. The advice includes avoiding posting photos or videos from their time in Gaza, especially ones flaunting destroyed buildings. Even what he calls seemingly minor content like singing racist songs should be avoided. Because all can be used as evidence against them. In fact, Kaufman recommends that soldiers consult international criminal law experts before travelling.
Last month, Australia denied tourist visas to 2 Israeli soldiers because they determined they had served in Gaza, prompting a fit from Netanyahu and the Israeli media, as we reported in a recent episode here. But despite global efforts to round up and prosecute Israeli war criminals, the United Arab Emirates, a Muslim country, has instead chosen to provide sanctuary to more than 5,000 perpetrators of the Gaza genocide. A trove of leaked Emirati government documents reveals the Israeli Ministry of War signed a deal with an Emirati government committee to facilitate regular R&R breaks in Dubai for Israeli soldiers with the aim of refreshing them up for another round of killing in Gaza. The cost of these visits were entirely funded by the Emirati government, making it a direct partner in Israel's genocidal campaign. I mean, what can be more perverse than this? An Israeli soldier who planted and detonated a bomb beneath a mosque in Gaza was given an all-expenses-paid vacation to Dubai, courtesy of the Emirati regime last week.
This is a how-to video on how to blow up a mosque in Gaza. Format is internet fluent. The content is very real. Filmed, edited, and posted on Instagram by an Israeli soldier. It's one of dozens reviewed by CNN. For many in 2024, social media is everyday life. Israeli soldiers are no different, except they're fighting Israel's largest and most brutal war in decades. In video after video after video, soldiers document the destruction of Gaza and rejoice. They film detonations to use as wedding invitations.
Emirati leaks uncovered hundreds of social media posts in which Israeli soldiers posted their crimes in Gaza on Instagram and then later photos of their stays in Dubai. This is an Arab country offering financial incentives to Israeli terrorists for committing genocide against the indigenous Arab population of Palestine. And it's not like the Emirati regime can play dumb about Zionist atrocities, given these war criminals happily posted their criminality online.
You see huge blocks getting blown up, universities getting blown up.
The fact that they've been able to rig these buildings up with explosives shows very clearly that there's no current threat from those buildings.
There's no justification for destroying a structure if the enemy isn't in it.
The Emirati government's safe haven program for Israeli war criminals is now a component of advanced military and defense agreements between the UAE and Israel, which were forged as part of the Abraham Accords of 2020. And in return for tossing the Palestinians to the Zionist wolves, the UAE received US weapons, Israeli intelligence platforms, and the influx of Israeli money, with the UAE enjoying a 5 to 7% increase in annual trade with the Jewish state during the past 4 years. The mass slaughter of 100,000 Palestinians has only deepened military ties between the two countries, with the UAE delivering 8 cargo planes full of military equipment to Israel at the height of the killing in April of last year. And it's worth noting that Emirati President Mohammed bin Zayed was the first Arab leader to contact Netanyahu after the October 7 attacks, and the first to condemn the actions of the Palestinian resistance movement. MBZ also blocked joint Arab sanctions against Israel during the 2023 Arab Islamic Summit, despite pressure from Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, Iran, and Malaysia to impose a full blockade on Israeli occupation. This comment by the research director